So this is the red-green aggro energy deck. This deck going into Pro Tour Kaldesh was pretty popular, but for the past few weeks it's been seeing a bit less play. It's still definitely a deck in the format, and I think it's a very strong deck that people are kind of forgetting about right now. This is the list that I've been playing with. It's my own list, and I've liked it quite a bit. So there's only 19 actual lands in the deck. Because it is an aggro deck, you want a low mana curve. 4 of them are Aether Hubs and Game Trails. I'm not playing any Cinder Glades because it's important to have your lands come into play untapped every single turn. So part of the reason why you can get away with 19 lands, you are playing 4 copies of Attune with Aether, which is almost like an extra 4 lands, because most of the time you're going to have at least one green source. You don't have any other turn 1 plays, so you can just use the first turn of the game to cast Attune, set up, and then get the 2 energy from it as well. So there's a bunch of pump spells in the deck, but we'll talk about the creatures first. So we really want to play a creature on turn 2. So Voltaic Brawler is just the best one. It hits for 4 by itself, creates 2 energy, and the trample is really nice as well. So the signature red-green beater. Servant of the Conduit is also nice because it helps accelerate you to a turn 3 Bristling Hydra and just a mana dork that creates energy. And I'm only playing 2 Long Tusk Cubs. Other builds have more, but drawing multiples isn't that great. When you are able to connect with them, though, they do get pretty sizable. So there are some lists that don't play Electrostatic Pummeler, but I love this card. I think it's the best creature in the deck. 4 copies of Electrostatic Pummeler. It's a signature card. It works well with your pump effects. Really well with your pump effects, I should say. And there's also 4 main deck Lathnu Hellions. A lot of other versions have them in the sideboard, but what I found, having them in the board, they almost always get sideboarded in, so why not just play them in the main deck? Super powerful card. You almost never actually lose the Hellion and are forced to sacrifice it. That very, very rarely happens because you have so many ways of creating energy. And then you have your essentially hexproof threat, which is really nice against decks with lots of removal. And that's Bristling Hydra. So this is your top end, basically, your 4 mana creature threat. So those are the creatures. They all have a lot of good things about them. All of them interact with energy in some way. And for a lot of these creatures, alongside just 1 or 2 pump spells, that can be enough to kill your opponent. So there's 4 Blossoming Defenses, which are important to be able to save any of the creatures that don't already have hexproof. Bristling Hydra essentially already has hexproof, so being able to save a Pummeler when moving in is super important, but it's also a pump spell, so it does multiple things for the deck. The Built-to Smashes, 1 mana +3/+3 is pretty nice, but with Electrostatic Pummeler, being able to give Pummeler trample is super, super nice. So this card can enable you to win with the Pummeler very easily. And it's another trample effect outside of the 4 copies of Larger Than Lifes. And we're playing 4 Larger Than Life. This is a card that doesn't even see play in Limited, yet there's 4 copies in our constructed deck, but just the trample effect and the +4/+4 alongside of a Pummeler larger than life by itself is often enough for lethal damage. Or when you can combine it with an Uncaged Fury, and yes, we're playing 3 copies of Uncaged Fury, on basically any creature, it can become a lethal threat. So larger than life plus an Uncaged Fury, you've got multiple combinations of pump effects that can be lethal on one of your primary attacking threats, like a Pummeler, like a Hellion, like a Hydra, Longtusk Cub, Voltaic Brawler, what have you. So the pump effects work really nicely together. There's also 2 copies of Harness Lightning. We don't want to be too reactive, but this card is kind of a catch-all. Plus, you can even use it just to get 3 energy. You don't even have to kill something with it. And this deck is all about energy. So the more energy, the better. 1 additional activation of Electrostatic Pummeler, for instance, or Bristling Hydra, can be the difference in a game very easily. So the sideboard is kind of a transformational sideboard. There will be times where you want to board out the Pummelers and a lot of the pump spells if your opponent has a lot of removal, or if you're on the draw against another fast deck, you're going to want these cheap removal spells. So 4 copies of Galvanic Bombardment. Most red decks have Galvanic Bombardment somewhere. This one has 4 copies in the sideboard. And then the other 2 Harness Lightnings and 2 Incendiary Flows. Incendiary Flow is really nice against the prized Amalgam decks, the Scrap Heap Scrounger decks. Natural State here is for not only the Copter decks, but it comes in a lot. Blue-White Flash, it's also pretty good against to hit a card like Stasis Snare, because that's one of their primary removal spells against you. And then against Control, we have these Planeswalkers. So against a lot of removal, we want to have other types of threats beyond just creatures. So we've got these Planeswalkers on the board. To be honest, the sideboard of this deck, you can pretty much do whatever you want with it. And even though Control isn't that important or that popular right now, I do like having the option to transform your deck and board out a bunch of pump spells and marginal creatures in certain matchups. And so the Planeswalkers can allow you to just become a red-green mid-range deck with a pretty good late game. So this is the list, and there's not really any one matchup that's bad. Your best draws with this deck are pretty insane. And if your opponent doesn't interact with you, this is pretty much the fastest deck in the format, or one of them. So I've been pretty impressed with it. Eager to play some more games.